People are dooming, people are hyping, lots of folks are talking about AI. Some folks feel it is a creative tool, others feel it is a blight on humanity. Me, I love the uncertainty of staring at a blank page and knowing that the possibilities are limitless. What I feel when I create something from my skills with my techniques truly fuels my passion as a creator. And every time I start an image, every time I start an idea, I am still met with those feelings of uncertainty, with doubt, whether or not that I'm going to stick the landing on a particular image. Very similarly to how a stuntman goes off a jump and anything could happen in the air. Anything can happen on a canvas for me. And it is that swell of emotions, that spectrum of feelings, from relaxation to anxiety to even fear to raw satisfaction, that I love when creating. This is why I draw, this is why I paint, and this is why I sculpt. AI image making really does strip away the human aspect, the part I love the most, from creating, and it does so in the most unethical of ways. And this is all perhaps leading to a lot of the articles that I'm seeing online that the AI bubble could potentially crash. I'm Tyler Edlin. I'm an independent artist and instructor. I have had the pleasure lately of working with both indie-sized companies and massive companies. I work with all kinds of people regularly, people that lie on both sides of this AI divide. This is not going to be some kind of art drama talk video or anything. I'm just going to be speaking from my experience on why I don't think it's great for creators. I'm going to talk a little bit of what you could do against it. I'm going to be talking about the current situation behind it and why it might not even be sustainable long term. With that said, if you're not interested in that, I am going to be painting this image from scratch behind me if you'd like to come along for the ride. Let's begin. Hey folks, if you hadn't had an opportunity yet, we've completely revamped the Brush Sauce website. It is now a lot more optimized for your experience. Feel free to drop by today with the links below and see what we have available for our various one-on-one mentorships, our self-paced courses, and our standalone tutorials. With that said, you could always subscribe to the newsletter and get some freebies. So first up on my agenda today is that it is not really as productive as advertised. For someone that likes to draw, someone that likes to paint, for folks that have experience, or a lot of experience doing both of those, I feel it's not super helpful in the long run. Legal and moral ethics aside, does AI actually help anyone? If you're using it right, in the scope of image making. I think as creators in 2024, right, we all are facing a global market oversaturated with both real and generated images. And your ability to add your personality, to convey your artistry through your individual mark making techniques, the stories that you tell, and your style may be the most important thing that you have on today's market. And over-reliance on such tools, things like photo bashing, things like 3D, AI, just makes your art more generic and more formulaic. It's going to make you easier to replace. This is something I'm going to revisit on and off throughout this video. I mean, we all hear, there's arguments that AI can speed things up, it can quickly create art, it can realize ideas, and it can render things out insanely fast. It can output a high quantity, right? But what I want to get to and what I'm interested in is any of this actually good? Is it quality? Personally, I have tested it. I have tried it. I've tried a lot of the free options. I think they look often generic. They lack depth. They lack innovation. They don't have that human creativity that we all know and love and that we can recognize. People are really good at recognizing it, of course. Whenever I try, the results are woefully inadequate. Your opinions could definitely vary on this depending on your own experience level. I didn't mess with anything a lot. I never even paid for a subscription. I tried my freemium options. But I mean, I've built a career out of doing image making with the most simple tools. It starts with a pencil, and then I got into markers, I got into watercolors and oil paints. Now I do a lot of it on the computer because it's commercially more viable for me. I've done a lot of it without essentially these kinds of crutches over the years. And having been in the weeds with it, I just personally find if I'm getting AI spitting out ideas like this, all I do is go into instant critique mode and like, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. Oh, maybe that color is all right, but it's so randomized. It's so out there. It requires more effort for me to course correct than than to utilize. Like, I'd rather just start from scratch. And I have students, former students and working professionals now, like Dean, that reached out to me this week and said they got a call, at management for these meetings, and they're chastising them for not using more AI in their workflow because they want to sever ties with the outsourcing office and replace their part in the pipeline with that AI. I hear this a lot. And also what I'm hearing a lot, it just kind of fails. I ran that Instagram reel that talked about the same thing in that case, where that scenario where they're trying to replace us to more automation, and it just looks sloppy, it looks messy, it looks generic, it looks store brand. The art is getting killed by it. Of course, this probably is not a sustainable business model long term. These AI companies are burning cash like crazy. Companies like OpenAI is reported to lose as much as $5 billion alone this year. These investors are getting anxious. They're realizing these high operational costs, right? Developing the data, training it, maintaining these advanced AI models like ChatGPT require high computational power to do so, right? As well as managing all that data, the storage, the processing. It's a very expensive endeavor, right? So you got these infrastructure and these operational costs, again, going through the roof, the cloud computing, right? And there is just limited monetization opportunities with this. The reliance, right, on venture capital is another one, right? The pressure to achieve rapid growth and the profitability can, of course, lead to these unsustainable business practices and even financial strain if the profitability is not achieved. The other expensive aspect of these kinds of businesses are those regulatory ones and those ethical things. This is costing them money thanks to great people out there like Carlo Ortiz. These costs include investments in compliance, right? Changes in development processes, potential legal fees, and the risk of fines and reputational damage. There's just evolving regulations through the board, right? The EU is working on their thing. I just heard this week from Carla Online that they are getting some stuff passed over here in the States. And as this technology continues to evolve, right, the governments and global organizations are going to have to work. It's going to cost more money, and they're going to have to establish these rules and these regulations to make sure it's used responsibly. This includes protecting data privacy, ensuring transparency in the AI algorithms, promoting fairness, and holding developers accountable for doing so. Another thing that I'm hearing a lot now is that AI is peaking, at least for the foreseeable future. These generative systems will certainly hit a plateau as it's essentially kind of poisoning the well. It's originally came in with really rapid, fast growth. It could sample all of us artists. It could steal all of our data. It could do it very fast. But now there's so much AI crap out there, it's just resampling itself, and it's kind of getting weak. The growth is slowing down. Again, these newer data sets, where they're self-poisoning, they lack any kind of creative nuance. There's no accuracy, and the originality of that human-generated data is certainly getting slimmer by the day, as we just simply can't keep up with machine output. And this is part of why I don't like to use it. I would rather be in full control and not have any kind of tool and any kind of poison tool dictate any kind of creative output that I'm personally going to pursue. And I find that the more experience you do have as a creator, the easier it is to observe how pathetically terrible a lot of these outputs actually are. So yeah, there is basically a bit of a stagnation in innovation. There is an algorithmic plateau happening. But again, another reason why it might not be doing as good as some say. But on this kind of topic of like, it is difficult to monetize, part of this, at least in our sector, is that art trends are not very profitable by reputation, right? Whether it's street art, installation art, abstract and expressionism, and it could be for a number of reasons, right? Whether it's because art is hitting on a super high level that's just missing with a lot of the common audience. Maybe it's just hard to monetize a particular idea. Or is it just generally too niche to connect with a large, vast amount of people? But either way, overall, it makes it very difficult to be profitable with AI in regards to art. The AI hype is about money at the end of the day. And, even if you replace Hollywood with generative AI, these generators will not make their money back. Again, too high of operational costs. I think the only one I hear that is turning over any kind of profit right now is Nvidia. But on a higher note, the European Union is working really hard to regulate AI, right? The European Union's proposed Artificial Intelligence Act, right? This thing seeks to establish very strict requirements for high-risk AI systems. The Act categorizes AI systems into 4 risk levels: unacceptable risk, high risk, limited risk, and minimal risk, each requiring different levels of oversight and compliance. So, a brief summary from what I've gathered on this, right? There will be bans on indiscriminate biometric data collections, social scoring, and AI systems manipulating human behavior. It will be disclosing the content that was generated by AI or not, which is great. It's designing the model to prevent it from generating illegal content, right? And of course, it's going to start to be required to publish summaries of the copyrighted data used in that training. Violations of these regulations could lead up to 35 million euros or 7% of global revenue. The act is set to be fully enforced in 2025. This will give a little bit of time to some companies to, of course, comply properly. But yeah, either way, Carla's copyright case at least is making its share of progress over here in the States, so that's always great to hear. But if it's not obvious, I'm not a big fan of AI. Of course, realistically, I do feel it's here to stay. The entertainment field is already experimenting with its integration, and in worst case scenarios, it's just trying to replace us. But I do know that it's the younger crowd that certainly has a bit more fear toward it right now, and that's for many reasons. But I do feel one contributing factor is that because the older guys, right, folks with lots of experience of the inner workings on how projects get made, know truly how complex they are. And when you have a lot more experience, it's just easier to observe how pathetically lackluster AI output really is. So it's maybe like it kind of comes off as like someone maybe like me is just more confident in their skills, or and maybe that's part of it. But like I said, I'm still very uncertain with every image that I create. But I know I can do it with enough time, dedication, and focus, and the feelings that I feel along the way of this journey are immensely rewarding to me. Only time will really tell, what our future is in this business with it. But if you are a younger creator, I have a few simple tips for you here now. Double down on your fundamentals. Don't put yourself in a position where you need to rely on AI in any capacity to creatively produce. Believe in yourself first and foremost and develop a deep and varied skill set that makes you irreplaceable. Get a simple process, find what works for you, right? Commit to that process of being an artist. If you can't point to that folder on your computer with all the bad art or the big pile of bad drawings right next to you of all the bad art that you just made this week, then you're not creating enough. A lot of students that I talk to are looking for the quick fixes. They want to use loads and loads of 3D and photos. And again, in moderation, I feel in the right time and right place, a lot of that can be very helpful. I certainly have enough videos on it. But still try to take time to ask yourself, how formulaic is your art. Are you just doing what's popular? Are you just doing what's kind of trending in regards to using the same kind of 3D sets, photo packs, AI images, rendering, filters, post-processing, setups? Are you just doing the same old that everyone else is doing? But unfortunately, the industry, places like ArtStation, the competitive level with portfolios, pushes for a lot of this. And honestly, like Tim McBurney says, it just kind of commodifies your art, right? It makes it very formulaic, making you as a creator very replaceable if you're just doing exactly what everyone else is doing and in the same order. So certainly take time to reflect on why you create. If you do stop because the computer is trying to outpace you, perhaps you are in it for the wrong reasons. I'm simply saying consider what you love, be you times 2, and try to put as much of yourself into that and keep your head up. And yeah, I do feel eventually there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel in this matter. Might be next week, might be next month, could be a couple years down the line. But there's a lot of great people out there fighting and advocating for us artists and creators, and I do have hope. AI, I do know, is definitely here to stay. It's just going to be how we coexist with it in the future. So it's going to be interesting to see how the future plays out, and only time will tell, and how we can coexist with it. I know AI is not the first thing to steal my art. My art's been stolen long before. It's stolen long after. There's people out there, they don't give a care. If you're doing your job right as an artist, it's an occupational hazard. It's certainly a given. Doesn't make it right. But guys, I hope you like how the painting kind of turned out, and let me know if you have any questions below. I'll be happy to get back to you, and there's links below the video as well for anything else that you may need. Alright guys, I will catch you in the next video. Till then, keep creating, keep your head up. Positive thinking keeps us from sinking.